Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to visit with a YouTuber named Dr. Laura Zib. She's the food freedom psychologist, and she's going to tell us why restrictive diets do more harm than good. Let's check this out together.
Did you start this year with the goal to get in shape, get healthy, or lose weight? If you did, you're not alone. So did the vast majority of the population. And in order to achieve that goal, you may have started a restrictive diet. Did you know that restrictive diets can do your health more harm than good? I'm Laura, the food freedom psychologist, and I can help you create a healthy and happy relationship with food without guilt or stress eating. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell there to be notified every single time I post a new video. In my signature program, I work with so many women who have dieted for years and years and fallen off that healthy eating wagon over and over again. Does that resonate with you? What they've found is that constant dieting really ends up messing with their relationship with food. So before we dive in, I have a question for you. Did you start this year on a diet? I totally get it. For so many years, January for me was about doing some sort of diet or clean eating regime or healthy eating plan so that I could get in shape or lose the holiday bulge. Having done so many of them, I know that diets or health eating plans essentially do one of two things, either restricting your calories or restricting certain food groups. And even the ones that say that they're a lifestyle and not a diet do exactly the same thing. So diets work in the short term because you're restricting the amount of food you eat. And whether that's through counting calories or counting macros, limiting carbs, cutting out carbs, limiting the time period in which you can eat. When you are eating less, you will lose weight. However, and it's a big however, the research shows that in the first 6 months, you will lose on average about 10% of your body weight. So far, so good. But there's actually a dark side that no one really talks about. In the long run, restrictive diets actually do you more harm than good. And here's 4 reasons why. Number 1, diets are the biggest predictor of weight gain. Yes, you heard it. You are more likely to put on weight. That's definitely not what you're after on a diet, right? When you look at the longer term research, the research that tracks people beyond those first 6 months, sort of up to 5 years, we see that people end up putting the weight back on. And in 2/3 of cases, they end up heavier than when they started before that initial diet. And actually research shows that yo-yo dieting, that's when you're gaining and losing that same weight, is implicated in lots of negative health outcomes, including increasing your levels of cortisol and stress. So not what you're after, is it? Number 2, diets set you up for failure over and over again. So what's the best way to make money? That is repeat customers, right? So how's this for a great money-making exercise? You offer them something that fails, and when it doesn't work, you blame the customer. So this is what happens with diets. They start a diet, and it doesn't work in the long run, but then people blame themselves, like it's my willpower or I didn't stick to it long enough. So you make the customer feel so bad that they want to try again. So they go on another diet. And eventually that one doesn't work either. But then they blame themselves and say it's their willpower, they didn't try hard enough, and they try another one. So there we have that kind of repeat customer thing going on.
So tell me what your guys' thoughts are down in the comments. My thinking is a lot of us try a myriad of diets, and some diets definitely work better for some than others, right? But when you walk every day and you actually get addicted to it, and every time you walk, it kind of subtracts calories from the meter, I'm telling you, it ends up working. So I don't know if I can agree with her. I've been relatively a small to medium-sized guy my whole life. It's simply because I catch myself when I get a little pudgy. I'm going to teach you guys how to do that too.
However, it's so bad for us. It's so bad for us to feel that we are failing over and over again, that it's our fault that it didn't work. And that eventually ends up making you feel like a failure and negatively impacting your mental health. It's the diet that's to blame because they set you up to fail. And if you want to know some of the reasons behind why they fail, then you can check out this video here where I go into a lot more detail about the biological and psychological mechanisms why they just don't work. So number 3 is that diets mess with your biology and especially your hunger hormone. So when humans face a famine, also known as a diet, One of the cleverest things that your body does is it stimulates your hunger hormones so that you feel more hungry, but it also stops you producing too many of the fullness hormones. So it takes more to actually feel full. And this is why you have this insatiable appetite the minute you start dieting. And number 4 is that diets are the biggest predictor of eating disorders. So you may have been on several diets and it's never messed up your relationship with food. And that's totally awesome. And I'm so glad that that's the case. But sadly, in many instances, diets create this very negative relationship with food. There's actually a very fine line between diets, disordered eating, and then full-blown eating disorders. And in fact, if you examine a lot of the diets closely, you'll see that a lot of what they recommend is actually disordered. So for example, a 1200 calorie a day diet is way too low for any adult. In fact, toddlers need about 1400 calories a day. Intermittent fasting, I know that there are some proponents of it, but really it's just skipping meals, which is exactly what I did, which led me to my eating disorders. And in fact, the National Eating Disorders Association suggests that diets are a precursor to eating disorders. So every time you diet, you are potentially creating a negative and disordered relationship with food, which can potentially lead to an eating disorder. So let me check in with you here.
So I love what she's saying, and let me tell you why. Every week, actually every day, what am I saying? Every day we have somebody on that's giving their weight loss story, a diet story, a horror story, right? Something from the past that's happened, before and after pictures, the whole gambit, right? I want you guys to know that there's a million different ways, thoughts, and philosophies towards dietary actions, and I'm sure you guys have already experienced many of them. So even though I might not agree with her, there are some of you that do. It's okay, no matter who you agree with. The main thing is that you get your shoes on so we can go for a walk here in a minute. That's the main thing.
Does any of this resonate? And if it does, let me know in the comments below. And if you're ready to find a different approach to getting healthy, something that is long-term and sustainable, that doesn't have you restricting, and instead creating a positive relationship with food, then check out my Food Freedom Masterclass. It looks like this, and the details are in the links below.
I thought she was really good, and she's got a bunch of videos that I think you guys would love. Check out Dr. Laura Zib. I will make sure that I link her channel in our description here. What I want you guys to know is that one of the things that I try to do is I try to get you addicted to a walk. And that's why I ask, if you're new to this channel and you want to walk with us, try to walk with me for 15 to 21 consecutive days so it can become habit forming. During that 2 to 3 weeks, you'll actually end up liking it and you'll actually get addicted to it. You'll get addicted to it no different than a kid loved recess back when we were in school. You remember how you actually looked forward to recess? Many of our venters look forward to their walk. And speaking of the walk, go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. Good morning, venters. Welcome to day 3. Guys, your boy has an issue today. It's not a big issue. I really enjoy my job. I like my coworkers. I get to work from home. You know, I mean, what's not to love, right? But here's something interesting. Today is my first day returning to work. After my walk, I'll have a couple minutes before my shift starts. You know, par for the course, right? But it kind of reminds me of a situation that a lot of us go through where we take X amount of days off of our workout routine. For example, I haven't worked for the last 9 days, right? This past week I took vacation And on both sides of the week, there was a 2-day weekend in which there was no work being done. So we're talking I had 9 consecutive days off. And even though I really enjoy my job, I can't help but admit there's a piece of me that doesn't really find going back to work today the most exciting thing, right? And even if you absolutely love walking, or you absolutely love hitting the gym, or you absolutely love doing push-ups and sit-ups, guys, no matter what the case might be, if you take multiple days off of anything, getting back into your routine is really, really challenging. So that's why when exercise routines want you to work out 3 or 4 days a week, where you also take 3 or 4 days off, it can be kind of tough to do those routines long term, because every single time we take 1, 2, or 3 days off, there's a chance that we might extend that into multiple weeks off, you know? So just something to think about. If you absolutely love walking, or if you absolutely love working out, but for whatever reason it's not working out for you, and then I come up to you and say, hey, let's get into a walking routine that's every single day for the rest of your life. The reason we do that is because if you don't walk every single day, each day that you take off becomes that much more easy to quit, okay? So again, if you're walking every day and you want to take a day off, take a day off. You've earned it. But if there's a piece of you that doesn't need to take a day off, it's not like walking is a torturous punishment. I actually enjoy it. If I had to list a list of my top 10 most enjoyable activities, walking would actually be somewhere in probably the top 5. Okay? So that's what you have to ultimately ask yourself whenever you contemplate taking a day off. Do I absolutely need to? I'm going to be walking to and from different rooms in my house, and I'm going to be walking to and from different places throughout the day. Why don't I just find a dedicated 15 or 20 or 30 minutes to go ahead and take my daily walk uninterrupted? Okay? Another thing to remember is that when you do walk a lot, you know, let's say you have a day planned where you're shopping. It's real easy to say, hey, you know what? I'm shopping. I don't need to take my walk. But my thinking is the exact opposite. Since you're already walking and shopping, why not walk around that mall or that shopping center or that grocery store or Walmart and Target? Why not walk around the perimeter, you know, inside the store in the air conditioned, obviously. But why not walk around, take an account of all the things you need to purchase, and then 20 minutes later, after you've walked around the store, then do your shopping in that store. There's little things we can do to keep into our walking routine. But if you take multiple days off, just know, even though you think, hey, I love walking, I'll have no trouble getting back into it, that might be wishful thinking. It's the only thing easier than walking is quitting walking. So what you have to always ask yourself is, hey, what's the alternative? Do I really want to go to a gym 4 days a week for the rest of my life, knowing that I even have trouble keeping walking going? You gotta stay walking. And if you're brand new and literally on day 3 of the challenge with me, guys, it's super important that you go at least 15 to 21 days in a row, simply so we can get your body, mind, and soul addicted to your walk. Trust me, the first couple days you might think, oh, it's hot out here. This walking doesn't feel like it's doing anything for me, because it's not. Right now, you're just getting your body used to doing a repetitive motion. You're getting it used to doing walking. After 15 or 21 days, you'll start to realize that your complaining about walking goes down and your enjoyment of walking will elevate and go up. That's why walking is so wonderful. The more you do it, the more you actually enjoy it, and the less grief it'll give you. Because I'll be honest, the first couple days of walking when you're new to it, it's just like a regular workout for you. You don't necessarily enjoy it. Walking far isn't fun, and it's not easy, right? You're overweight, you're on your first walk ever. After 20 or 30 minutes, you might find yourself breathing heavy, you know? But just imagine if you were running on a treadmill, it'd be even more challenging. So the easiest exercise in the world is walking, but it's still challenging your first couple days, and it's really challenging to get back to the longer you're away from it. So if you take a day off here or there, sure, you deserve it. Go for it, enjoy your day, right? But if you absolutely love it, why do you need to take a day off? I would argue you never need to take a day off. Now, has there been moments in my life over the last 20 some odd years where I haven't walked? Of course, but you want to make those once in a blue moon moments, okay? I believe in you. You're starting to believe in yourself. Don't ditch the walking. Keep walking, especially if you're brand new. We got to make it a habit. We've got to make it a part of your daily routine, regardless of what you do with sugar and water. You want to make sure you're walking. If you're having your doubts about walking, watch one of my videos about the amazing benefits of walking daily, okay? You'll love that video. It's really encouraging and inspirational. Guys, check this out. There is a real life looking Groot in New Zealand. This tree here is known as the walking tree, and it's been voted the New Zealand 2024 Tree of the Year. It kind of looks like Groot, doesn't it? It's got really interesting root structures. What happens is it grows up in the mountains kind of as a weed or a shrub, and it grows up trees and then down trees. And when this root-looking entity grows down a tree, it tends to look like legs. And that's why they call it the walking tree. So it starts off with the one tree trunk of a regular tree, I believe. And as this vine grows down it, it kind of forms a second trunk, and it starts to look like it's literally walking. And it does kind of look like Groot, not the little mini Groot that we love, but I'm sure you remember the giant Groot from part one of that movie. God, what was that movie called? The Avengers? I can't even remember the name of it. It was a great movie, though. That's probably one of my few superhero movies that I've enjoyed over the past couple years. All the Marvel movies and stuff, they're good, but God, I'm tired of seeing superhero and Marvel movies. Get those people off the screen. Whatchamacallit, one of the last superhero movies that has been really popular has been, God, what's this guy's name? Dead Rush or something? Where basically he curses all the time, and I guess people like him because he curses a lot and he comes across as cool, right? But maybe I'll write his name on the screen. I can't think of it right now. But I think he's played by that Patrick Reynolds or Brian Patrick. I forget the guy's name. I'll probably end up cutting this out because I'm not even speaking in coherent sentences. But this tree is called the Metrosideros robusta, nicknamed the walking tree. It's located near a cemetery in South Island, which once again is part of New Zealand. These trees can live up to 1,000 years. And if you rewind and look back at the picture, it does kind of look like it's walking, doesn't it? Very, very neat. I think it's amazing how long trees can live. When I walk by this park here, keep in mind I went to grade school at that school there when I was a little kid. I can't help but think most of these trees here were there when I was a little kid. So in a weird way, the neighborhood changes, the neighborhood evolves, people come, people go, people age, people move on, but the trees kind of remain the same. Very, very neat. And just to know that there's trees out there that can live thousands upon thousands of years, that is amazing. That reminds me of parrots, believe it or not. Jesse, what the heck does trees have to do with parrots? I'm sure some of you guys have heard that parrots can live like 80 or 90 years. Could you imagine getting a parrot when you're a 8, 9, 10-year-old kid? Raising that parrot, learning to teaching it how to talk and stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, you pass away and they've got to give your parrot to somebody else because your parrot outlived you. That is crazy. Very cool though. I mean, if you love birds, the idea of keeping a pet for your whole life has got to be pretty exciting. I also hear turtles are similar. I hear some tortoises and stuff can live, like 100 years as well. They've actually found some tortoise shells with musket balls and lodged in them, meaning some way, somehow, they lived since like the Civil War times. Could you imagine seeing some giant tortoise and you go up to it and it's got a hole in its shell, and you look in the shell and there's like a little musket ball, and you're like, what the heck is this? And that musket ball might be, 40, 50, 60 years older than you are, and you might already be in your 70s or 80s. Could you imagine that? That is crazy. Since my battery dies on me every day because of the heat, let's see if I can get a couple of moments here in the shade. Oh my God, guys, that shade feels like 15 degrees cooler. Hey, good news. It's only supposed to get up to 106 today in Arizona. How lucky are we? God, I never thought in my life I'd be saying how lucky we are that it's only 106. Seems kind of cruel that it's this hot out here. Arizona seems very doable when you have air conditioning. But I'm sure you guys think the same thing I do. How the heck did people how did people get Arizona started back in the day when there was no air conditioning? Could you imagine, hey, we're gonna move out to the Arizona territory. Really? Isn't it like 100 degrees out there? 110. Oh my goodness, good luck. Yeah, thank you, we'll see you guys later. Oh my goodness, I don't think I could have lived out here a century before. I just don't think I would have ever gotten used to the heat, because one of the ways you get past the heat is sitting in front of the air conditioner. Could you imagine living in triple temperatures without AC? It just seems miserable. But that's what our ancestors did. Our ancestors, settled in states like Arizona and Florida and Texas, and some way, somehow, the state went from hardly any residents to the millions of people that live here today. It's a lot like Las Vegas too. Very, very warm. Very, very warm. Hey, speaking of Florida, there's a woman in Hernando County, 45 minutes north of Tampa, that woke up with this in her backyard. Could you imagine walking in your backyard and all of a sudden a sinkhole opens up? And these sinkholes in Florida, they never look like small little holes. They look like giant pits to hell. Holy moly, that is the scariest thing ever. It's almost as scary as going on a binge and gaining 5 pounds over the weekend. I hope you guys had a nice weekend. If you guys did end up eating and binging on some sugar, just know that you're human. Sugar takes down a lot of venters and a lot of non-venters alike. But the main thing is you just kind of get right back on that horse, guys. Keep your walking up. The walk that you're on right now is killing one of those sodas that you had over the weekend. One of the reasons that you want to quit soda is because as you get into your 30s, 40s, and 50s, guys, you want to try to avoid any teeth issues. When you start having some teeth that go bad, I want you guys to always remember, tooth decay is contagious. So the worst thing for your beautiful smile is one single bit of tooth decay that can spread to adjacent teeth, and before you know it, you've got a major league problem. So if you can slow down on sweets and you can slow down on sodas, not only will it affect your weight in a positive way, but it might give you a little bit more time to enjoy your original teeth. And if any of you guys have dentures right now, you know how expensive dentures can be. You also know that although dentures and veneers might look beautiful, they don't always feel the best in a person's mouth. Sometimes people purposely don't wear their dentures because they hurt, because they can be painful, because they can make it feel like you can't talk. Not everybody loves their dentures, so if you have your original teeth, do whatever the heck you can in your power to keep those original teeth. Otherwise, you're going to want to jump in that pit. By the way, This lady that lives north of Tampa with this sinkhole in her backyard, the place where she lives is dubbed Sinkhole Alley. And that reminds me of another part of the country known as Tornado Alley. I don't know how people can live in these areas because those things scare the bejeebus out of me. Could you imagine living in a place where literally you're number one, Florida is built upon limestone in a lot of areas. From what I understand, these sinkholes can happen at any time without much notice. And if these things sink you up and take your house with it, there's a good chance we're not ever going to see you again. And oh, by the way, that has happened. I remember a couple years back, I heard a story of one man that was living with his brother. And all of a sudden, his brother's room in that part of the house was engulfed into a sinkhole. And the last thing he heard was his brother saying, "Help me, ah!" And they never found his brother. How freaking scary is that? So again, there's certain parts of this country where we've got sinkholes, where we've got earthquakes, where we've got tornadoes. And when I look at Arizona, for all the heck we get out of living here when it's so hot, if you take away the heat, which only really is bad for 4 or 5 months of the year, then all of a sudden you've got kind of the perfectly safe place to live. Even when it rains out here in storms, it doesn't really get that bad. We do have dust devils, which are kind of like little mini tornadoes in the dirt, right? But they usually dissipate pretty quickly, and they usually are on the outskirts and usually don't cause hardly any damage at all. And then, of course, we have gigantic dust storms. We get these dust storms, right, that look really crazy because basically it's all the dust that comes out of the desert and it settles over the valley. If you can imagine the valley's like a giant bowl. It's the reason it's so hot here in Arizona. The heat comes down, and then in the evening when it would normally dissipate, right, and cool down, it kind of gets stuck here in the valley. That's why during the summer it can reach 100 degrees at night. It's really, really not pleasant. But I'll tell you what is pleasant. I've been reading a lot of your guys' comments again, and when you guys tell me that I motivate you and you really enjoy watching my videos, it makes me feel like $1,000,000. Guys, if you're on day 3, I want you to know that I'm very proud of you. A lot of times it's difficult to start something, so if you're legitimately walking, good for you. And as you guys may or may not know, some of our venters have been walking for upwards of 100 days or more. I'm very, very proud of you guys as well. Let's keep this momentum going. When you start to reach triple digits on your walk, you're talking about 1/3 of a year, you know? And why stop now? If you hit 100 days, guys, let's go for 365. What do you say? Anyway, back to what I was saying earlier. You want to make sure that whenever you take a day off, that you really obey the 2/3 rule. If you can't take a physical walk with me, I still think you should try to take a mental walk with me. Jesse, you're just saying that because you're a YouTuber. Well, maybe that's true, Bob, in part, but the reality is, if you learn Spanish via a book, right, you're going to learn it, but it's going to be very slow, and you're not necessarily going to know how to put it into practice. But if somebody lifts you up and throws you into Spain or throws you into Puerto Rico or throws you into Mexico, you're going to be immersed in the Spanish language, and you're going to quickly learn how to ask for food and how to ask for the bathroom and how to ask for a glass of water. You're going to quickly learn how to get along so much quicker than you would from a book here in America, right? Now, working out is the same way. If you can't physically work out, or you decide to take a day off, it probably wouldn't hurt you to still come in, watch the video, read some of the comments. You'll see how people are slowly but surely changing their lives. One of the things that you'll also notice, at least one of the things that I notice, is how excited people genuinely seem to be. A lot of people feel like with this channel and with this community, they feel like they've met somebody that can be a good teammate for them for walking. And sometimes that's all we need. You ever see a good basketball coach and he takes over a team of, underachievers? And before you know it, he's getting that basketball team into the playoffs, and before you know it, they're contenders. Sometimes you just need one little motivational piece to the puzzle, and all of a sudden everything works. So again, you've walked 6 or 7 or 8 days in a row and you want to take a day off. Hey, you're a human being, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But if you do, still drink water, still avoid sugar. That way, you feel like you're taking advantage of the fact, that you don't necessarily have to walk every day. Remember, because you walk each and every day, you can take a day off. But if you start taking multiple days off from walking, combined with ditching your sugar and ditching your water, avoiding sugar and ditching water, guys, pretty soon, you're actually doing a reverse program. You're no longer doing our program, you're doing the reverse. So again, if you can keep the 2/3 rule, it'll help you a lot when you decide to take off a day of walking. Because remember, every time you ditch anything in your routine, you're going back to the person and the way that you were. And ideally, I think you'd agree, we need to avoid that. Yeah. Sometimes walking comes down to you just have to do it for the entertainment and enjoyment of it. I just don't think it works to tell yourself I'm walking to lose weight. I just don't think that's a very encouraging statement. I think it's easier to say, hey, I'll meet you up for breakfast, but I'm going to go on my walk real quick, okay? Talk to you later, bye. Okay? That's what you got to get used to doing. There's no need that you need to change and cancel plans and stuff with people. Just wake up early and take your walk. I get really excited and really energetic when it talks about defending the idea of walking. There's a lot of people out there that think you should try running instead of walking. And if you and me were in our 20s, I would probably agree with them. But as we get older, we have to do what we can. And since walking is by far the best exercise you can do in the world, my thinking is, why mess with running? But my thinking is different than yours. Remember, all venters have similar thoughts when it comes to losing weight, but they all have different lives. And some people like working out, some people like lifting weights, and some people like me, I prefer doing push-ups and sit-ups and just walking. Even when I go to the gym, guys, I'm not really lifting weights. I do torso twists. It's this little machine that they have at Planet Fitness where you basically hold on to handlebars and you twist, because I had this gut area, and man, that torso twist really does help with the gut. I don't know why the gut is so challenging for us guys to get rid of. It's akin to a woman's hips and arms, right? Sometimes women have a hard time with their jiggly arms or with their hips, or maybe they have some cellulite on the back of their legs. Those things can be challenging for all of us. The best way to get rid of that is to walk every single day and stay active. And if you have an area like your hips, where I do the torso trunks, they have this thing where you can kind of kick your leg back and push weights, and it kind of works out your buttocks area. So if you do have a membership, go into your gym and see if there's any machines that might help you with your hip area. See if that can happen for you. Got a guy here walking his dog. Real cute little dog. How's it going? Good, good. What's up, puppy? Is that a Chihuahua?
Jack Russell.
Jack.
Interior Chihuahua.
Oh, very cute. Have a good day. So there's a guy with his Jack Russell Chihuahua mix. There's a woman behind me. It looks like she's, I'm trying to angle the camera where you can see her. Looks like she's walking. I've been seeing her the last couple days. I think our neighborhood's got a new walker. When you can walk consistently in my neighborhood, I'll notice you. So that's a good thing. I wish that people would walk in the middle of the winter here in Arizona. just so they could see how enjoyable it is. Because if you enjoy it, then when a hot time of the year like the summer comes up, or where you live where it might be freezing cold in the winter, you'll find ways to continue your walk. Again, I always urge you, be proactive. If you have a rainy season and you know that walking outside in the rain is miserable, instead of trying to do something that you dislike, why don't you be proactive and see if you can find an alternative? Because if you can walk indoors, that's great. You might not have the money to buy a $700 or $800, professional treadmill, but you might have the ability to buy a cheaper type treadmill at a secondhand store. I always see people's houses, right? And they have this nice 2-car garage, but their cars are parked outside of their garage. And the reason that is, in many cases, is because when they lift open the garage door, it looks like they're a pack rat. They've got every single square foot of space inside of their garage is taken up with boxes and stuff that they just haven't thrown away through the years, right? All this accumulated stuff. And I just think, God, if they'd be willing to get rid of some of that pack rat shit, they could put a nice little gym in their garage. Okay, battery change. I knew it was coming eventually. It's right around this area or a couple yards back. The battery change is nice as long as I can do it in the shade. If there's no shade, it's no fun, but there was shade nearby, so I got to cool down here for a minute, so that's nice. Sometimes you got to take a small victory like that, Hey Jesse, is there anything we can do to baby step if we want to take another baby step? Bob, I'm glad you asked. Guys, there's always stuff that you can do to baby step since we're all going to work today. Maybe at lunchtime, if your routine is to go to McDonald's or Wendy's or whatever fast food chain is near your work, maybe today is the day that you can make it where you get the meal, you get the with the fries, but maybe instead of a Coke, maybe you can make today the day where maybe you have a high C, or maybe you have a sweet tea, and maybe you can only have half the sugar that you normally have in it, right? Maybe instead of a soda, you could actually have a water. Take your bottle of water, drink it right before you eat, and then give your French fries and your soda to one of your coworkers, right? Give it to Dale. Maybe he'll get off your back for a day. Actually, don't give it to Dale. It'll come across the wrong way, like you're trying to bribe him into being decent with you. Give your soda and give your fries to a coworker. Make their day. Just eat your burger and some water. And right there is an excellent way to cut the calories from your lunch in half, because I'd be willing to bet that the fries and the soda are probably more calories than the burger itself. So if you want a little baby step, if you don't want to be sitting here and thinking about working out for the next week, but you actually want to do it, get out and start walking. If this is truly your third day of walking and you did 10 minutes the first day, 15 minutes the next, heck, maybe you're ready to just step right up and start doing a half-hour walk each day. Guys, a half-hour walk, in case you're wondering, kills and gobbles up about 150 calories just from a nice, brisk half-hour walk. There's also magically 150 calories in your 12-ounce can of soda pop. So if you have a soda each and every day, but you tell yourself, well, I only have one, well, good news then. With your only one soda pop, you can take one 30-minute walk and you can cancel out the calories from that soda. But remember, ultimately, if you only have one soda a day, guys, that's probably going to be a pretty easy addiction to quit and kick. One of the things that I've noticed with sodas is they have those little tiny mini cans. I know this sounds silly, but if you just really feel like you're not addicted to soda as much as you just like tasting a little bit of it, maybe that would be a nice little step down. Go buy yourself a 6-pack of those mini cans of soda, and there you go. Go from a full soda to a glass of water and a little half soda. Sometimes we just need to reward ourselves with a little bit of sweet this or that and the other. Another thing you can do if you're totally eliminating sweets, maybe get yourself a pack of sugarless gum. Because if you get sugarless gum, maybe that's just what your palate needs, just to taste something sweet. Even the thing we use to clean our teeth from, the sugary things that we eat, taste itself like sugar. Which makes sense. Could you imagine if they made toothpaste and it tasted like soap? I think it would bring new meaning to wash your mouth out with soap. You know, we used to have funny things that people would do to try to get their kids in line. And I'll never forget the first time I heard that sometimes people will take a little bit of hot sauce and they'll put a little bit of hot sauce on their kid's tongue, right? And that's kind of like a little punishment for them. I don't know if anybody has ever actually done that or not, but could you imagine you're a 5 or 6 year old kid and you say a curse word or something? Could you imagine your parents putting some hot sauce in your mouth? Oh my goodness, the things we do. If you were ever hot sauced by your parents for cursing when you were little or for acting out of line, let us know down in the comments. My thinking is a little hot sauce on the tongue ain't gonna kill anybody. And if it teaches you a lesson for cursing or getting out of line with your parents when you're little, so be it. You know, when you used to cross the street when you were little into traffic, your parents would get you and they'd spank you in the butt, and now we kind of see that as a horrible negative thing. But you know, back in the day, that was considered a loving thing that you just had to do. And nowadays, I fear that a lot of our kids are growing up not realizing that certain behaviors and certain attitudes come with consequences. That's why whenever you want to change the world, you got to start with the man in the mirror. But listen, day 3 done. That was fun, right? I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.